Hello, and welcome to the 31st edition of the Jaguar Report podcast. It is also our first annual award show, annual with an asterisk. We're not necessarily committing, we don't have a multi-year contract, but we're going to do an award show inspired by the NFL Honors Show that's happening Thursday night, I believe. Shout out to the people who engaged with the polls on Twitter that we released yesterday. The process is going to be, we have 14 polls that we released on Twitter, and the committee is going to be me and John, with the polls being a tiebreaker if we need it. John, how are you doing? You excited for the show?
Do I not get automatic tiebreaker?
No.
Okay.
I figure it's only fair to give a voice to the people.
I am excited for the show. I'll be honest, it was just part of the offseason is boring for me. So it's one of the highlights of my offseason so far to throw you to the piranhas of Twitter with some of those poll questions the other day. Anyway, though somebody especially took offense to the James Robinson option, which and some of them were like complete slaughters. Some of the results were great. So no, I'm excited. Mm-hmm. This is first annual, and I'm sure there'll be a second annual. Don't put my word on it for anything past that. But excited to be here nonetheless.
Absolutely. We got all dressed up for the occasion too in our tuxedos and everything. Is that what they wear?
I don't know.
Maybe I'm just thinking of the global globes, whatever they're called.
Any other award show? Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Emmys, Oscars, yeah.
All right. Well, let's get this one underway.
No, they wear T-shirts and jeans to the NFL Honors.
The first of 14 polls that we have first of 14 awards that we listed on Twitter is franchise MVP. And the nominees are quarterback Trevor Lawrence, head coach Doug Peterson, general manager Trent Baalke, and team owner Shad Khan. And by unanimous decision, the winner is Doug Peterson. Woo! Should have got the sound animation.
Yeah, no, I'll get sparklers next year.
The applause too.
No, I mean Doug has to be the choice, right? Like I'll be honest, I thought somebody was going to try to flame me for Shad being on there. I will say,
I was just with the Shad and with the James Robinson one. I was just trying to think of like a fourth nominee. I was trying to get 4 nominees. That's
give Shad a little credit. He hired Doug. He very easily could have hired a terrible coach. We've seen it done many a time. So they got it right. I will say, I think we both took our L's on Byron Leftwich, future Notre Dame offensive coordinator last week, but Shad was right. Everybody showed up with clown costumes, and he basically was able to tell everybody to kind of shut the hell up for effort when nailing the hire.
Yeah, he said talk to the hand. Well, you'll like this stat. Doug Peterson actually led the team in general value over expected. So I just got that stat from Next Gen. Deservedly the franchise MVP. Our second award is team MVP. So the first one was meant to be like just organization-wise. The second one is roster-wise.
You're not going to throw an over-expected stat at me and not even let me rebuttal before you just move on? Is this yours? Was this like a Roman strategy in like war or something? Like
I was expecting an outburst, honestly. So when I didn't get when you didn't interrupt me, that's when I moved on. I was like, okay.
I'm still in off-season mode. I've lost my fastball. I had nothing to rebuttal other than I don't know how you can. No, move on.
Other than how dare you?
Yeah. No, right choice though. Doug's the right choice. Yeah.
Doug's the right choice for franchise MVP. For team MVP, the nominees are Trevor Lawrence, quarterback, linebacker Foye Oluokun, cornerback Tyson Campbell, and wide receiver Christian Kirk. And then another unanimous choice is Trevor Lawrence. 91% of the votes on Twitter.
Jesus. I thought you meant tight end Trevor Lawrence. Thanks for.
Is that what I said?
No, you said quarterback. I was mixed up with one of the other Trevor Lawrences on the roster. So I'm glad that you clarified who. No.
I'm just trying to be like a good
Who came in
presenter of
second?
the award. I'm playing host here.
Who came in second?
Boye with 3.8% votes.
I would have said Kirk in second, honestly. Kirk or Campbell. But yeah, no, Trevor's got to be the vote. I mean, even during the losing streak they had, the 5-game losing streak or whatever, and even against Washington, he wasn't like bad per se. Like everybody thinks about the Broncos interception. Well, I mean, the Broncos pass defense, especially up to that point in the season, was like one of the best in the last couple of years. Like that shouldn't have been a game that was concerning. I mean, they probably beat the Giants if ETN, doesn't fumble. He takes one play back against Houston. They probably win that game. So, the Colts, he led a game-winning drive, and then, they let Alec Pierce score a game-winning touchdown against them. So it was a better start of the season than he had the year before, but it feels like a lot of people felt like it was the same old. But I thought, from week 1 to week whatever they played in week 20, I guess, that he was their best player.
Yeah, I mean, he just kept getting better throughout the season. But even though he didn't take like a superstar leap from year 1 to year 2, it was definitely a pretty massive one. He was pretty easily the best player on the field.
Did he take the one you expected?
He took one that was like a little bit bigger, I think, than I expected.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't think Doug was going to be as incredible as he has been, and then I wasn't very excited by the receiving corps, so I thought he was going to take a jump, but it wasn't going to be massive.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll eat my crow right here. I was completely wrong about Christian Kirk. I thought the fact that Kirk would be primarily a slot only guy and there's no real vertical threat the offense would hamper the passing game some. And I mean, Doug and the way he schemed guys open, and then Trevor the way he played it literally made it just a complete moot point. So yeah, no, definitely eat my crow on that one. Kirk is definitely a better receiver than I think anybody gave him credit for.
Well, that takes us to our next award, which is Offensive Player of the Year. The nominees were quarterback Trevor Lawrence, as well as Christian Kirk, Travis Etienne, and Brandon Scherf.
Sheriff.
You and I both voted for Christian Kirk in this. So Christian Kirk is the winner of the Opoy Award. The fans voted 75% Lawrence, but I think you and I just thinking were that since Lawrence got MVP, it kind of gets the best non-quarterback on offense.
Yeah, and anybody who doesn't like that justification can take it up with the complaint department. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll continue.
Every complaint we get, every complaint and every compliment that we get, I'm going to start throwing your way.
All right, now I was already thinking about deleting Twitter. It was that time of the year. Don't push me over the edge now.
Fair.
But yeah, I think Kirk was both the best and most consistent, probably the most consistent period, including Trevor, because Trevor wasn't as inconsistent as a lot of people might remember, but Kirk was really good every single game, even the games that he didn't necessarily blow up. He was still I don't know, running well as opposed to having straight up forward performances. So yeah, I think Kirk was. I mean, I eat a little bit of crow. I thought it was I wasn't excited by it because of his size, really, and he's pretty legit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, he regardless if it's from the slot or not, he finally gave them a guy who was kind of tough for defenses to cover one-on-one, no matter who they threw on him. So definitely agree. And I think this year kind of showed that Doug isn't a tight end centric offense or something like that. He's a pass catcher centric offense. Whoever his best players are, those are the guys who are getting the ball. It just depends on what the team looks like.
He's just a pass guy in general. We talked about before.
No, that's what I'm saying.
He's a quarterback at heart. He hates running. I love it.
People keep telling
he reads the Bible and everything.
Exactly. If it brings me back to something I tweeted about. They bring back Evan Ingram. I don't see a way they draft a tight end early. I've seen some say first round. I think there was a Lance Zealand mock that had them taking Luke Musgrave, the Oregon State tight end, in the first round, and they bring back Ingram. That's just like to me like one of the worst picks you can make. And people are like, well, he had Dallas Goedert in Philadelphia. I mean, he had me and you at receiver in Philadelphia then too. You know, like
Yeah, and
he
like
was just
Ertz was
the
on
best
the wrong
pass
side of
catcher.
30 too.
Yeah. Yeah, so not
Yeah.
comparable, but definitely agree with you on Kirk, and I think Kirk will be probably even better next year. So, congrats, Kirky.
I mean, it seems like I feel like I've read a couple of things this week about how like the Eagles wanted him in terms of like because people were talking about like the Eagles' path to the Super Bowl and like how they tried to sign Kirk and then they were outbid and eventually got AJ Brown. And then I feel like I just saw something about another team wanting to sign Kirk. And so like, I mean, his contract was up there because he was overpaid, but he was overpaid because other teams wanted him. And so
Yeah, definitely. I think Buffalo might have also at least been in the early conversations with him too.
Would you be surprised by a tight end being picked in the second round?
If they bring Ingram back, yeah.
Okay.
I think they like Luke Farrell enough to make him the number 2 tight end.
All right. Good nugget. Depressing nugget.
I mean, number 2 tight end barely plays on like their offense.
I was hoping I think like a good Super Bowl scheme storyline is like the Chiefs' use of heavy personnel and like how they're so good in 13, and they'll be able to get extra Eagles linebackers on the field. So I would have liked to see like
I definitely thought they're going to draft
actual weapons.
Yeah,
at that tight end.
Yeah, I definitely think they're going to draft a tight ends. I'm not sure how far removed from Tyler Davis like prospects you should expect.
True. All right. On to our next award, the first one that you and I disagreed with or cast different votes on, however you want to put it. Defensive Player of the Year. We have nominees Tyson Campbell, Foye Oluokun, Rayshon Jenkins, and Josh Allen. Me and the people voted for Tyson Campbell, and you, John Shipley, voted for Rayshon Jenkins. I would say my argument is really that Tyson was the best player, but I think like if you're going value wise, or like just like had the best year wise, you can make a case for Rayshon. What say you?
Yeah, I think Tyson was the best player too, but like you said, just value wise, like the splash plays plus, he was up there still in the tops for passes defended, in the entire NFL, not just among safeties, but in the entire NFL. Yeah, I thought, like overall, just watching him, on tape week in and week out, he was a much improved player. I mean, his game against the Eagles, nobody paid attention to it because they lost and stuff, but he was all over the field and the first half making plays. So I definitely think there's a case to make for Tyson, and Tyson is their best player on defense. But I thought Rayshon had the most impactful season, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, like I could say Tyson had a couple of big plays down the stretch, like the fumble return against Houston and the interception against the Titans, but like those definitely pale in comparison compared to the late game heroics that Rayshon had.
And I mean, some of it obviously, of course, comes in the fact that Rayshon's position, probably more prone to getting turnovers. Guys threw at Tyson less. There were several games where Tyson just wasn't getting thrown at, at all. I think he went the whole New York Giants game without like a single target in coverage or something like that. So, there were some games, like that. But, I either way, I thought it was a strong year, from the secondary because, you count Cisco, I thought had a good year. Darius Williams had a good year once they moved him outside. So, there was a decent foundation built there.
Cisco's a guy who I don't think we ended up doing a most underrated player award, but he was definitely a guy that was going to do a nominee.
I completely missed. I don't know how. I was tweeting them from what you sent me, and I completely missed that one.
It's okay.
Cisco would have got my vote though.
Yeah, because the thing about him is I feel like he made a lot of plays against the Chiefs when he really came downhill a lot. But other than a couple interceptions here and there, he didn't really have a huge amount of plays made. But on the opposite side of that, there weren't really a ton of plays that it really felt like he led up. And so as you're saying, it was a good year for the secondary, and Cisco's back end coverage is definitely a big part of that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, that's we'll talk about it later, but that's going to be a group I think they look to even add to more this offseason. So
Okay. Well, yeah, I think you have a good case for Rayshawn, but Tyson Campbell is the Defensive Player of the Year for our
fair enough.
first show. Got outvoted. The Special Teams Player of the Year. The nominees are Jamal Agnew, Logan Cook, Riley Patterson, and Caleb Johnson, who, according to some website, led the team in special teams tackles. I
were
need
wrong.
4 nominees.
You were wrong for that. You were wrong for that.
You
were wrong for that
together. I'm doing research.
You were wrong for that one. Did anybody vote for him?
0.1%. So someone did it like as a joke. I love that. Thank you, whoever that was. Validate me with your 1 vote.
You're a monster.
It wasn't me either. I voted for Jamal Agnew, as did the fans. So, again, you're outvoted, Shipley. Special Teams Player of the Year is Jamal Agnew, who received a 67% vote on Twitter. John, wait. I apologize. You also said Agnew.
I was gonna say. I was gonna let you keep digging the hole, but I did say Agnew. Yeah.
I apologize for that. It was Agnew ran away with it. We have another unanimous one. I don't know why I thought that you put Logan Cook.
No. I mean, I think there's a case to make for Logan Cook because Agnew's kind of like the same as Rayshawn to me in the sense that Logan Cook is probably the most consistent and best one, but I mean Agnew made the biggest plays, like week 18 and both rounds of the playoffs. I mean, he was huge for the most important games of the season. So I think just for that alone, that that probably adds more than the punts nailed at the 1 yard line or whatever. But Logan Cook was also, I thought he should have got like all pro, like votes and stuff. And I thought also on like the coverage teams, I thought Chris Claybrooks and Daniel Thomas were just as good as Rudy Ford was a year ago. Right.
Yeah, those were kind of like the names I was looking for when I was looking for like the special teams leading tackler. And then with like Cook was really the only name I considered other than Agnew. Cook also got the second most Twitter votes with 22%. So
I will say Patterson was better than I think people probably expected.
Yeah, that's true. He does deserve like an honorable mention because I was expecting them to never kick from over 40 yards.
Yeah.
And he actually made a couple 50-yarders. I mean, he had like a passable season, which was more than
No, absolutely. I thought, he had a better season. They've had a kicker in the last couple of years. So the thing with Patterson is, like, it seemed like at week 10, I don't know if you could say that because his game against the Chiefs was so bad, but he was like the rest of the team. Like after that, dude, he was just like automatic.
Just money, yeah.
Yeah, so
that's true.
And he's an ERFA, restricted. They can basically decide his future, whether he comes back or not. But I mean, I'd imagine, you bring him back at a cheap price and add somebody in training camp, just a body, so his leg doesn't fall off. But I mean, why not let him kick next year? Like why change anything?
I'm gonna need John Michael's kicker rankings come draft season. Our next award is the Rookie of the Year, which at first I only put down 2 players, Trayvon Walker and Luke Fortner.
I saw that. Am I supposed to tweet it like this?
Because it was like, I don't know. And then like Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma round out the nominees, I guess. But I mean, it's really just a 2-way race. Walker and Fortner got 85% of Twitter votes, and neither of our votes. The winner of the Rookie of the Year is Trayvon Walker because you and I voted for him, even though the fans, 62% of them, voted for Luke Fortner. What's going on here, John?
Like, I get it because, Fortner Dick was like one of 19 offensive linemen who didn't miss a snap. That's impressive for a rookie center. Tough scheme, all of that. But he was like center, like what, like 26, 27, and I'm not saying he's always, going to be that. I think, rookie center, he definitely. I expect him to get better. And, from all signs, they love him in the building, because he does stuff that you don't necessarily see on film or, in the stat sheet. But I don't know. Maybe I think Trayvon had a better season than fans do. I know it obviously doesn't show in the stats, but I think that's the kind of player he's like. I think if you're looking at sheer stats, you're probably never going to be satisfied with the Trayvon Walker pick because I don't think he's a stats guy. Like I think he's gonna create chaos for other players. And he's going to create production that doesn't necessarily show up for him, if that makes sense. So I do think he had a better year than Fortner had, but I didn't take into account people expected, number 1 overall pick, and then they see Aiden Hutchinson take his way to 9.5 sacks.
Yeah, I mean, Walker has no stats, but neither has Fortner. What's a center stat? I do have a stat for it. I had the 12th most blown blocks among centers this year, according to Sports Info Solutions. So I feel like 20th best center.
I mean, you watch the same tape I did. I mean, he had a big part of the issues running inside. I mean, he struggled, as a run blocker. And I don't think that's, unfair to say. I think it's not like an indictment on him or on the pick moving forward because obviously you get 17 games and that many snaps out of him. It's a good pick. But I still think if there's a rookie to be most excited about and if there's a rookie who I think, you put the tape on and have the best year, I still think it's Trayvon.
Yeah. For Fortner, like in pass pro too, like it's not like he was giving up enough pressures that he was like a straight up liability, but he was definitely like getting bullied a little bit there as well. And then I feel like the only case for Fortner is like how good he was compared to his draft slot, but like just in terms of like who's had the better year and like helps the team more, it's like easily Trayvon, I think.
Yeah, and I think we just didn't think about the fact that so many fans, put number 1 overall pick expectations into it because I don't think either one of us kind of did that, but they sure did.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll cut it down the middle and give Luke Fortner half of the trophy and Trayvon the other half to satisfy them. I'm willing to concede that. I'm growing in 2023. I can concede that point.
Okay. I also never mind.
Let's hear it.
No,
You can't say never mind. Let's hear it.
I listened to the 1010 XL Awards show for just inspiration for awards, and one of the ones that they did was Trench Player of the Year, which is our next one, and they had Luke Fortner winning it, which that's just why I made that.
Man, who ended up winning ours?
The nominees were Brandon Scherf, Devon Hamilton, Roy Robertson Harris, and Jawan Taylor. So we said best offensive or defensive lineman.
Yeah.
Fortner didn't even make the cut because our best 2 O linemen were Scherf and Taylor. Brandon Scherf is the winner. Sheriff. Okay.
Yeah.
Brandon Scherf is the winner because you and I voted for him. No worries. Jawan Taylor got the most votes on Twitter with 40%, followed by Roy Robertson Harris, then Sheriff, then Ham.
I think that's another one. He's the Trayvon version. He got signed with such a big contract. I think people expected him to be guard 1 in the NFL. But I mean, I thought, so later in the season when he was clearly, not 100%, I thought, there were definitely some instances of him struggling. Maybe a few independent moments here and there where he didn't look as, maybe flexible as he wants to. But I mean, just in terms of his mostly consistency, how much I think he helped Fortner. And I mean, their run game, a lot of the stuff that they did, getting Travis Etienne in space was based around, kind of Sheriff, as the focal point of the blocking scheme. So I don't think they could have been as creative as they were in offense without Sheriff. So I get saying Jawan, but I also think Jawan kind of benefited from the scheme and Trevor more than an interior guy like Sheriff does.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I don't really have anything else to add there.
Hey, that was a testimony, huh?
What's up?
That was a testimony then, huh? I was preaching?
You're preaching. That was good.
Okay. I still got it? All right.
You still got it. Yeah.
Good.
It's not off-season mode quite yet.
Good.
Jawan Taylor's the nominee for our next award, which is most improved player. It's him along with Walker Little, Tyson Campbell, and Trevor Lawrence. And the winner is Trevor Lawrence.
That was probably a little unfair.
Although you voted for Jawan, and Jawan would have been my second pick, and it was also Twitter's second pick. Trevor is just like, I don't know. Like, okay, so here I'll go off since you just went off. Yeah. There's been a lot of talk of like in national media for how like the kind of elite quarterbacks have just like settled down. So like because of like the rise of too high, yada yada, with like people defenses playing more two deep safeties and deep coverages in general, forcing quarterbacks to kind of like check down and be patient and dink and dunk, like that's been talked about with Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Burrow at least this season. And so, but I think Trevor Lawrence also deserves credit for that, because we saw like kind of his rookie year how like sometimes he'd be like, all right, I'm just gonna like throw it because I can like have this crazy arm and just like hope my guy can make the play downfield, and we'll see what happens. And I think he just like grew a lot in terms of like obviously performance and production, but I think patience is kind of like an underrated area where he grew. So yeah, that was like why he was my most improved pick.
He was definitely a smarter player, this year, and I think that's like, yeah, like second year quarterback is smarter in his second year starting. But I think I definitely agree with you. I think his game was more mature, and that's something that I honestly, like. I like to the season go back and look at some training camp stuff to see kind of how are guys looking compared to how the season went. And for Trevor, that was kind of exactly it. He looked like a guy who's advanced part of the game was starting to develop past just the physical tools. So I'll give you that. I think I said Jawan just simply because like the sheer stats, he went from like a bottom tackle and like pretty much everything to one of the better pass blocking tackles, relatively penalty free. He went from a guy who like a $2-3 million a year contract guy to legit $14 to $15 million a year guy. I don't know why I'm saying that year. So I that was more my basis. But I'm also of the opinion that Trevor wasn't as bad as a rookie as people think. But I could just be a homer. So that's definitely possible.
Another sports info solution stat that I looked up earlier is I don't know what Jawan ranked in previous years, but this year he was a top 3 tackle in terms of their points earned metric, or total points metric, which I couldn't tell you exactly what it is, but it has to do, it's like basically total expected points added for an offensive tackle, however they do that. So just like analytically wise, we saw on the film as well, Jawan definitely took a big leap forward.
I mean, outside of like the Eagles game, there are like no negative plays for Jawan like on this season that like stick out.
Right. Yeah. And then it would be like maybe one a game, and at that point you're like, oh, you're like surprised, but you don't see it again.
Yeah, I'm with you.
The next award is Comeback Player of the Year. The nominees were Marvin Jones after being a corpse in 2021.
No, that was another one. What the hell did Marvin Jones come back from? I said that out loud when I saw your email. What did Marvin Jones come back from? Other than Urban Meyer, I'll give you that. But
coming back from Urban Meyer, and then the other nominees are Travis Etienne, who, spoiler alert, is the winner. He won unanimously by you and I on Twitter. And then Trevor Lawrence, because he had a quote unquote like down year his rookie year and just like wasn't a generational quarterback. So he came back a little bit in terms of like national media or overall awareness wise. And then Andrew Wingard, I don't really know why I put him. Because like, I don't know. I feel like most fans were like iffy about him, and now most fans love him.
That was the other one. I'll give you that. He went from a guy most fans like we definitely most fans had like vitriol for to a guy like it seemed like fans kind of rallied behind as like a cult hero or whatever. So I'll give you that one more than the Marvin one. But Travis Etienne's foot injury. I mean, that could have easily been an injury that like I thought wrote him off. So I the fact that he had the season he had, and I fully expect him to top those numbers next year when he's like the clear guy starting from week 1. And I mean, he was relatively healthy for most of the season. Like he had that 1 week where he was like limited in practice, but he still played in the game. So Travis Etienne with a coach who actually likes running the ball would put up some crazy numbers.
Yeah, that's true. I'm glad he got the long one against the Texans in week 16 or 17, just because like he had been like definitely broken a couple long ones, but like didn't have like a 50+ yard touchdown. That was like a highlight reel run.
Yeah.
And so it was cool to see him get that. Yeah, I agree. Like more usage and it would have been like an even bigger year. But like I remember like researching Liz Frank injuries after he suffered it in the preseason last year, and I was like, it was one of those where like no one really comes back from it. So the fact that he's is like I thought this was going to be his peak after the injury.
Yeah, I mean, like especially a player like him who depends on explosion and cutting ability and stuff like that. So, he like as soon as he got on the field last year, like an offseason program, I think you could kind of tell that he was set for a big year. So I mean, all credit to him for rehabbing back. So definitely deserving of that one.
Yeah. Next award, Assistant Coach of the Year: Press Taylor, Mike Caldwell, Offensive Line Coach Phil Rauscher, Defensive Line Coach Brunson Buckner. The winner is Phil Rauscher. You and I voted for him. Twitter voted for Press Taylor. You want to go? I mean, you know better than I do. Go, what was your vote reasoning?
I love the format of just telling Twitter to go to hell. Like if you and I disagree with it. No, I mean, I thought I know we agreed to it beforehand, but it's not until we're seeing it play out in real time that I'm like, well, we really asked them for their opinion just to say thanks, but we know better.
Yeah,
but,
well, it's just because like I was like trying to think of like what happens when you and I like disagree and what. So it's supposed to be a tiebreaker. Then I was like, oh, well, we might as well include all the votes like in the show because people would probably want to know. But you're right; it definitely comes off like, yeah, I guess
funny.
like
it's a good bit. Yeah. It's a good bit. It's a good bit. No, I mean, and sorry, but we do know better. I mean, it's got to be Rauscher. I think. I mean, I thought the offensive line was better than the sum of its parts. I thought, you saw several guys start at left guard, a rookie center. Cam Robinson, Juwan had the best years of their career. Again, obviously the scheme plays a big part in it, but I thought, I mean, if you want to talk about Travis going for as many yards as he did, I think give Phil Rauscher, a ton of credit. I don't think people, really understand the amount of work he does, that goes into the run game and their plan and what they do on game day. But he is like the run game, like maestro. So I think definitely Rauscher. I thought Taylor, Taylor obviously in his role, I think you can say anybody attached to the offense had a good year, but non-play calling offensive coordinator winning it is an odd one to me. I did think it was interesting the Ravens wanted to interview him for that coordinator position.
That's true. That's true. Future head coach Press Taylor by 2025. Would you bet on it?
Zach Taylor's his brother, and Mike Sherman's his like father, cousin-in-law. What he's like a cousin, like 2 trees removed or something like that. I could see it.
Yeah, I can see it too. I mean, especially like we're expecting the Jags to kind of like gear up for a big kind of like run or a couple years of like trying to make a Super Bowl. So once they hit like a good season, then the assistants will be going to other jobs most likely.
I did think it was interesting that they're letting Jim Bob Cooter take any interview he wants, but Press Taylor, they're like, no. Like, so it kind of shows you clearly, who's valued there kind of in the hierarchy.
Yeah, for sure. You can definitely read between the tea leaves a lot, like during this season of like Rappaport and Schefter tweeting.
Yeah. No, somebody asked me, they were like, oh, does this mean that like Cooter, what's it called? Like could was able to take it to him? Like, no, they could have blocked Cooter. they definitely could have blocked that. Like they're fine with it, but definitely.
Rauscher would have been my vote, like just based off like not knowing anything within the building and like from an outside perspective, just based on like how each unit kind of performed. But then like I heard from you about like how he's the run game maestro. That was just kind of like the cherry on top. And so Phil Rauscher, assistant
That
coach of the year.
I mean, Doug had never worked with him before either. So I mean, that's a hell of a hire.
Heck of a hire.
Yeah, heck of a hire. Sorry.
What's our cursing policy on the show for when we eventually have guests on?
I feel like hell is fine.
Okay.
Anything beyond that, we'll see. I don't know. Let's keep it TV 14.
All right, that's low-key a bar, John. Sixth man of the year. Our nominees were Walker Little.
What? I should have changed it. Why was it 6 man and not 12 man?
Oh, wow, that would have been good.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally was on the NBA's site and just like I did like Hustle Award too. I mean, I changed one though, but
I should have changed it. I didn't realize until I voted, and I'm like, God, we look stupid.
Hey, it's the first show. By year 7, we'll be cooking.
It's part of our charm. Part of our charm.
Mm-hmm. That's all of our charm. Sixth man of the year was Walker Little, Jamal Agnew, Arden Key, and Dwayne Smoot. And the winner by unanimous choice was Arden Key. You had to play under 50% of the snaps was kind of the credentials.
Yeah.
How to get in the building.
I think that's got to be it. I mean, Arden was, their second most productive pass rusher despite only being a starter for, like a handful of games of the season. So, I mean, I feel like that's, more than fair.
Yeah. My vote probably would have been Smoot until he tore his Achilles. I mean, it was pretty late in the year, but I feel like the fact that he was out and then like Key kind of like turned it up a little bit along with the rest of the defensive line the last 5 weeks or so. Maybe there's a little bit of recency bias, but I mean, Key, like, don't fact check me, but I feel like he had to have had like the highest pass rush pressure rate per like snaps.
Yeah, no, I think when you look at the overall efficiency and whatnot, the pass rushers. I mean, he jumps off the page to the point where I think he's definitely a guy who's deserving of other teams looking at him in free agency. But I think they're going to keep Key, man. I really do. I don't think you go into the offseason wanting your pass rush to get worse instead of improving upon it.
Okay, Play to the Whistle Award, which is inspired by the NBA's Hustle Award. Shout out to my dad, whose Eagles are in the Super Bowl. When he used to be my football coach, he had 2 sayings: "Play the whistle" and "Low man wins." He'd shout like every 3 seconds. So the Play to the Whistle / Hustle Award nominees are Foye Oluokun, Evan Engram, Zay Jones, and Rayshon Jenkins. And the winner is Foye Oluokun, again, by my vote and the fans' vote, boxing Shipley out once again. Foye led the league in tackles for a second straight year, which we've talked about. And while he was in the backfield plenty, a lot of those are definitely kind of like down the field too. I don't know. It's the Hustle Award. I feel like he hustled the most. There isn't really a lot most. So
yeah, no, that's definitely completely 100% fair. I think I said Ingram just because there were a few plays throughout the season I thought that stood out to me. But I mean, Foye, I can't imagine like the amount of energy that he had to pour into, not just each Sunday, but each week. I mean, he was literally lining up like half the defense and then in a split second having to diagnose plays and get there and still recording, like 15 tackles in the process. I thought his game against the Baltimore Ravens was like inside linebacker run fit, like teach tape. He was fantastic, against the Ravens. And I think he's ultimately, everything that they probably, signed him for. Is he, the complete linebacker? No, he's not Fred Warner or whatever, but I think in terms of what they've had at linebacker over the years, he 100% should be out there. I just thought Ingram maybe made a few more splash effort type plays.
that's probably true. Yeah, I think like the hustle plays were like for Foye were like probably like big gains that he like chased downs or anything else, whereas Ingram was like cool touchdowns. Speaking of cool plays, the highlight of the year, the nominees were Rayshon Jenkins's pick 6 against the Cowboys in overtime to win the game, Rayshawn Jenkins' strip sack against the Tennessee Titans to win the game. Trevor Lawrence comeback against the Ravens when he threw a touchdown to Marvin Jones and then the game-winning 2-point conversion to Zay Jones. And then just as one kind of cluster instead of a single play or two plays, the playoff comeback against the Chargers. And the playoff comeback against the Chargers wins.
Yeah,
there's three different ones. I think this is the only one where me, you, and Twitter had different votes. So I'm just going to give it to the people since.
What'd you say?
There's probably about 1,500 people versus my one and your one. I said Lawrence's comeback against Baltimore, just because I'll talk a little bit more about it later. But that was for me personally, it was like the highlight of the year as a fan was the comeback against the Ravens, even though I was there for the Chargers and Titans game. The fans said the comeback against the Chargers, I got 60% of votes. And then you said the Jenkins play against the Titans.
Yeah, no, I thought all of those plays were like plays that like had people completely stunned. You know, there were moments that, you know, you think of the top 5 Jaguars moments in the last 10 years, and it's a couple of moments in 2017 and all of those moments. I went with the Titans one just because like it looked like their season was dead up until that play. Whereas, you know, you could probably say that for some of the other plays, but I mean, like it happened like in a Week 18 game on prime time as compared to, you know, when the Ravens game happened and whatnot. But I thought all those are probably the 3 most memorable moments I've ever covered. So it was a good year for that award. So kudos to you guys. That wasn't a laughable group of answers.
I mean, I might have just sent you the 3. Did you come up with the playoff comeback versus the Chargers?
I did.
It's because I figured you would fill in one for me. But that was a good one. That was the winner.
Appreciate it.
The Redemption Award, which goes to the person who proved themselves most after preseason doubt. The nominees are Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk, Trayvon Walker, and Trent Baalke. And Baalke is the unanimous winner of the Redemption Award.
Trayvon got murdered.
Yeah, the poll results were Trevor, Christian, and Trent all got about 30 to 33%, 30 to 35%, and Trayvon got 1% of votes.
I think you could make an argument for any of those 3 guys.
They're not for a reason, people.
Yeah, exactly. I will go with Trent personally because I was very vocal in my criticism of him and of his offseason plans. So, yeah, Trent Baalke knew better than John Shipley did in the 2022 offseason. I'll concede that point.
Yeah, I think for Trevor, Christian, and Trayvon, it was all like, oh, there's like some uncertainty, but like maybe it'll like turn up right side up. But then like kind of like at this point a year ago, everyone was just completely done with Baalke and wasn't interested at all in like any kind of future with them. So I feel like he easily has the biggest turnaround in terms of just like public outlook. Big redeemer. Masterclass. Okay. The Steal the Show Award, inspired by the one video of the woman from like 20 years ago who said the Jaguars are newcomers and nobody wants them to steal the show. I'm sure you know the one, John.
Yeah.
But it's for the best team character / personality. The nominees are Andrew Wingard, Zay Jones, Arden Key, and Rayshawn Jenkins. And the winner is Zay Jones. Andrew Wingard, unsurprisingly, got the most amount of Twitter votes.
I was going to say who got the Twitter votes. Yeah, no, Zay Jones. Like, I'm not even sure how to fully describe it. Like, just the detail that he gives and answers, like to really anything at any given like moment. I think he's just one more like fascinating, you know, athletes the Jaguars, you know, have had, you know, for all the right reasons. But yeah, you can give that one to anybody. I thought the entire locker room was full of cool personalities.
It was pretty cool. I mean, like there was definitely another one where it's like all the nominees deserve to be nominees for this one.
Yeah.
Like I love that Arden Key brought the boombox from San Francisco. Like, but like I don't know, from the moment Zay showed up with that haircut, and then like as you said, just like like all these guys would give like good interviews every once in a while, but like every single Zay interview was like entertainment.
Arden Key was another guy who in training, I knew in training camp people were gonna absolutely like love him because like training camp was more restricted this year than past years because of it being at where it was at the high school and not as much space for fans. But Arden Key was like the most vocal dude on the field, like literally every single day. So it was a fun group.
The last award that we have that was on Twitter, asterisk, is the Trent Baalke Masterclass Award, which is the best front office move from the past year. The nominees from this are trading for Calvin Ridley, trading away James Robinson, drafting Trayvon Walker first overall. Just gloss over that one. And then I just bunched together signing Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and Evan Ingram because like just one of them, I don't know. But like the point was like kind of like signing a collection of weapons for Trevor. Yeah. And that was the leading vote on Twitter with 72% of poll votes. But the winner of the Trent Baalke Masterclass Award is trading for Calvin Ridley.
Dude, I don't care if Calvin Ridley never catches a touchdown for the Jaguars. That trade and the creativity of it is like the best execution of a personnel move I think the Jaguars have ever and probably will ever make, just an out of the box thinking. And the fact that they came from Trent Baalke, I'll give credit to. I didn't think that was something that they really had kind of in their repertoire.
Yeah, I mean,
did you?
No, I was just gonna say that like my thought process was like I want a star receiver and I got a star receiver, and so like your points are definitely true, but I don't know, those are all true. I think like maybe like the Kirk and Zay and Ingram had some like that nominee was some recency bias because they just performed well this year, but like in the grand scheme of things, I think like as you said in franchise history, the Ridley deal was pretty incredible.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, well, that wraps up the 14 awards that we had as polls. Those were supposed to be the quote-unquote general awards, even though there was a couple out-of-the-box ones. But now John and I have each come up with 3 additional other awards. John, you want to go first? What's your next award? I've done a lot of presenting. It's time you present.
My next award, the Best Poster Award. And poster in terms of best online presence, and I'm gonna go with Arden Key. I think Arden Key made me laugh on social media a good amount. He had some good highlights in terms of quotes and stuff. So I'll definitely go Arden Key. Other nominees, I'll give Rayshon Jenkins, Josh Allen for replying to Josh Dobbs, thinking that it wasn't a fumble, which has become like the most asinine like JFK level conspiracy in Titans Twitter. Like, dude, literally every time a quarterback has done that, like, was his arm going forward or not since then, Titans fans and like a couple writers like go crazy, like, oh, that wasn't incomplete for Josh Dobbs. I'm like, no,
wow, they have not let go, have they?
No, and I'm like, you guys wanted to watch this Titans team in the playoffs, but yeah, no, so. Definitely Arden Key, but shout out to Josh Dobbs for that one. The Made Me Look Stupid Award. Zay Jones. I wrote an article saying that DJ Chark, signing Zay Jones instead of DJ Chark was ludicrous, and Zay Jones, clearly had the better year. So, Made Me Look Stupid Award goes to Zay Jones. You can also get that the Christian. You can also get that the Christian Kirk. Probably Darius Williams. Press Taylor to an extent, and obviously Trent Baalke. And my final award, the John Shipley Award, the person that, the person that I thought embodied the brand of the Jaguar Report podcast the most. That's you, Gus.
Oh, untouched, John. I thought about doing the exact same thing.
Did you really?
I didn't come up with a name as good as John Shipley Award though. So
you're the John Shipley Award winner of 2023.
Awesome.
2022, right. Whatever.
Let's put that in the bio for a little bit. The John Shipley Award. What is that? All right, my three awards. The first one is the Udonis Haslem Award. Still going with the NBA theme. This is just the best veteran / old guy. The winner of the Udonis Haslem Award is Corey Peters, who's both the oldest player on the team at 34 years young and had the best kind of performance or stretch of performances for an old guy when he had a really big game against the Titans in the last game of the regular season. The other nominees were Marvin Jones, who, as I previously said, was a corpse last year. He's 32, which I was surprised to see. I mean, he's a pretty good-looking dude, so maybe that's why. But I was like, 32, sheesh.
He's handsome. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Brandon Sheriff, who's 31. I believe a third oldest on the team after the first two. And as we've talked about, he looked pretty old towards the end of the year. And the final nominee was senior defensive assistant Bob Sutton, who was 72. But Corey Peters got that one. The Trevor Lawrence throw of the year is the Ravens touchdown to Marvin Jones, which was kind of like a 5 or 10 yard throw to the right side of the end zone to get them in position to get the 2-pointer to get the win. Another nominee was the Cowboys' long touchdown to Zay Jones, where Zay ran the double route.
Yeah.
Trevor kind of like rolled out to the right and just like unleashed it. It felt like 50 yards in the air. It was probably a little less than that, but it was like probably the best long pass of the year for him. The Chargers' touchdown to Zay is another nominee, where it was like just like the deep crosser, and it was in the third quarter. It was like probably the third touchdown of the game for the Jaguars. Do you have any? Those were just the three that I had. Do you have any other off the top of your head? I couldn't think of the fourth.
The one Christian Kirk didn't catch for Kansas City.
That's a good one. I thought about doing that too.
No, I mean, that was
official.
honestly.
Yeah.
That was honestly like I like as good a deep throw as we've ever seen him make, I think.
Okay. That's a good he had a really good one to Zay actually in like the midseason that Zay dropped to. But the Kirk one will be the fourth nominee. But the winner, of the Trevor Lawrence throw of the year is the Ravens touchdown to Marvin, which I mentioned earlier was just like kind of like the best, like the most like he is him moment to me for Trevor this year. And it was like, cause like, I don't know, like as it was happening, I thought they were either going to spike it or like do something a little more conservative. So when Trevor just kind of like got the snap and rifled it, and then it was a touchdown, I was just like, that was crazy. That was awesome. And so, yeah, that's the winner. My final award is inspired by an MLB player. You know the Phillies catcher meme where like it's like a GIF of like the catcher just like kind of like shaking his head in disappointment as a pitcher is like running out of the field. Yeah. So this award is the Why Is He in the Game award. The nominees are Snoop Connor, who despite the team trading up for and having little running back depth, he got 40 offensive snaps and 12 carries this year. Devin Lloyd, who replaced last year's winner, Damian Wilson, at linebacker and got benched halfway through the year for a fellow rookie.
This one's mean.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Shaq Griffin, who got sent to his room back in week 6 after allowing 2 game-winning touchdowns in less than 2 months. And then Andrew Wingard, I just put in parentheses mean for that one. So the winner of the Why Is He in the Game award goes to Shaq Griffin, who we haven't heard from in months. Congratulations, Shaq, on the last award of this year's Jaguar Report award show.
One of the worst Jaguars free agent signings ever in terms of overall production.
Are you saying is he one?
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. There's a question mark at the end of that. I'm asking you.
I think like similar to how like Tyson was like early in the season before Darius went outside. Tyson was like the only cornerback like respectable on the team. Like the same thing was kind of true with Shaq last year, honestly, where like Shaq was like holding up and like no one else was. So like they would have gone from horrible to setting like all-time records for like worst defense without him, I think.
Fair enough.
I'll stand up for him a little bit after hating on him. But yeah, he just hasn't really been relevant in so long. I had to give him some kind of award.
Fair enough. I'll give you that.
Okay, John.
Let's hear about it.
Next week, I think we could do coaching hires, a show on coaching hires, and kind of do some grades. But we're gonna skip it for now since they're not all complete.
Isn't it great that we don't have to do that?
It's so great. It's going to be so fun getting minuses to every team just because we can.
Dude, I did not miss covering, like watching like this Colts coaching search and this Cardinals coaching search. I did not miss covering this at all.
No. So that'll probably be next week. Although last time we took 2 weeks off, so maybe it'll be in 2 weeks. And then we're going to do some.
I think we'll try to shoot for next week.
Yeah, we'll shoot for it.
Yeah.
The other like big news other than coaching hires and the Super Bowl, I feel like, was the Brady retirement. I was curious if like you had like an immediate reaction to it or if you had like any takes at all or not really.
I exhausted all my takes on him when he retired the first time. But my only take is I thought it was hilarious when Ian Rapsheet said he retired for family considerations after he just got divorced. That's
dude, he was like gonna start crying. It was like on like the video, like it was heartfelt, but it was like, dang, it like made me feel bad for him.
Yeah,
like,
I really think he has like probably nothing else, like just in terms of you only know the grind for so long, and that really is a freaking grind. That at the end of the day, what else? I mean, does he really have? But no, I exhausted. Yeah, like I saw the New England Patriots just retweeted their like congratulations from the year before.
No way.
Yeah, that's my energy towards it.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty fair. Wow, that's crazy. I mean, I get it, but that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Super Bowl predictions.
Yeah.
What you got?
I got Chiefs by 10. Big Red.
I got Chiefs. I didn't write down a final score, but I was gonna say Chiefs by double digits. So we have the exact same thing.
Like the Eagles have done as good of a coaching job as like it looks, and the roster is as stacked as it looks. But I just feel like Jalen Hurts is due for kind of a clunker, dude, and I don't think Patrick Mahomes is capable of having a clunker. So I think Travis Kelce, like against those linebackers, just overall Andy Reid against Gannon. I think I'm feeling Chiefs, man. I know the general consensus has been Eagles, but I'm feeling Chiefs.
Yeah, I think like Chiefs big too. Like the Eagles were like not necessarily like a fraud watch during the regular season, but like they were like, I don't know, very, very good, but had a pretty easy schedule. And but then especially in the playoffs, they played the Giants and then the Niners without a quarterback. It's like you can't really get easier Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So they haven't really played a real team over a month. And then like I also don't trust Hurts on third and long. Like the coaches for the Eagles are like impressive, but so inexperienced that I just can't trust them over Spags and Reed.
Is Hurts the top 10 quarterback to you? Like overall in the NFL talent wise, I'm not talking about this season. Obviously, he was like one of the 10 most productive quarterbacks this season. But like if you're building a team, is he one of the first 10 quarterbacks you take?
Yeah, I think he's like 8 or 9 or maybe 10 for me.
I'll give you that.
What would you say?
I mean, he can also get the made me look stupid award. I thought Hurts was bad coming out. Like I wasn't a fan of him coming out outside of being I thought he was a great college player, not a great prospect. I didn't think he looked very good with Doug last year. I wasn't really overwhelmingly convinced by anything he did. So he really made me eat a lot of crap. I'd probably say he's up there on like the 10th or 11th.
I've been a Hurts fan for a little bit just because like I don't know. I was surprised when he fell to the third. Maybe that's just because like I wasn't.
He was a second round pick.
The draft then.
He was a second round pick.
Okay, he was being talked about like late, and then the Eagles drafted him in the second round. And I was like, that's a good pick. And everyone was like, what are the Eagles doing? Including my dad, who like, I picked the Chiefs. I hope the Eagles win, mostly because my dad is from Philly, but also because like I think I'd love to see Hurts win the Super Bowl. And I like he's improved for like 7 straight years. It's crazy. Like he just keeps getting better. Like I think he's good. He's
David
not in like
Caldwell.
that year that I think Lawrence will be in for sure by next year, but
Yeah.
he's like certifiably good.
Dave Caldwell and Gardner Minshew would have rings if the Eagles win. And I think on the Chiefs side, it'd be Chad Henne, and I don't know if there are any other former Jags on that side.
I hope you didn't forget about the Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott debates, because there's probably going to be so many Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts debates. Like, what else is anyone on ESPN going to talk about this summer?
There's nothing to talk about. There's absolutely nothing.
All right, so we both got the Chiefs kind of sort of big. Wrapping up with a hot take of the week. What's yours, John?
I think if I'm going to pick one prospect who I'm probably going to mock the most of the Jaguars at 24, it's going to be Kelly Ringo with Georgia. I think Ringo screams balky to me. I don't think they're going to take a cornerback who can be strictly a nickel cornerback just because they need one, because they clearly didn't do that in either of the last 2 seasons with, Tyson or Darius Williams, when, in both cases they entered the offseason needing a nickel. They had the outside guys, but they added outside cornerback anyways. I think just because that's how they think big picture. And I think Ringo, like his traits, he just screams bulky to me. So I think defensive back makes the most sense. That's what, at least all the signs I think point to right now, this early in the offseason. And I think Ringo, if he's even there, I think he's going to blow up at the combine. But that's my hot take, is that Ringo should be your favorite for the 24th overall pick.
That's a good point. I feel like he's been sliding like a little bit, but we'll probably shoot back up after the combine. I completely agree, though. Like I was telling someone today, last year I spent most like drafts prep just watching receivers, and this year mostly be corner, because that's who I would expect the Jags to draft
last year.
No, but I wanted one, and now I want a corner. So I do what I want, John.
I do think they add multiple corners in the offseason.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So like even before what you said, like Ringo screams bulky to me as well, and like just what they want to do.
He's similar, I think, to Tyson as a prospect.
Yeah. Hopefully those hips go a little more fluid.
Tyson's
like the biggest thing against him.
Tyson's 3-cone was like, I want to say the slowest or the second slowest of any quarterback at the in combine history so far.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. So they like what they like.
All right. Well, my hot take is that extending Jawan Taylor would be a huge mistake, which like before today, I thought like if Taylor got extended by the Jaguars, like it'd be fine because I like him and he's a solid player. So it's like, all right, like I don't really have like a huge problem with good players like staying on the team and like kind of keeping homegrown talent, et cetera, et cetera.
No,
but then today, there was kind of like a rumor that blew up about how it was like an off-season take by an ESPN writer where someone thought Jawan would re-sign with the team. It might have been Field Yates. He thought Jawan would re-sign with the team for $15 million a year. It was like an off-season prediction thing. So that got me thinking about it, and like just because of how much money they already have tied to Cam Robinson, like I think paying 2 tackles over $15 million a year would just be like a terrible use of resources. Is basically the take. It's like not a player take at all, because again I like Jawan, and I hope he gets a bag somewhere else because he deserves it. But like I just think the cash and money would be used so much better elsewhere on the roster than both tackles, when, as you put in a tweet earlier today, like the scheme and the quarterback helps so much already too.
Yeah, no, I think exactly that. Like the scheme, how quickly Trevor gets rid of the ball, and I mean it's just easier, I think, for tackles in the scheme. I think there's a reason Cam Robinson had the best year of his career too before he got hurt. So
yeah.
It's a tough one. I'm happy I'm not a general manager who has to make these decisions, because I mean this is a tough one. It kind of feels like like kicking the nads one way or the other. So like even though it shouldn't, because he's an objectively good player, but it just doesn't seem like there's really a correct answer either way. But it's one of those where I don't really have a strong stance to the point where like it's hard for me to even disagree with anybody. Like I would make him an offer probably around 12.5, 13 million, and then see where conversations go from them. But if I'm Juwan, I'm wanting to test the open market, dude. Like I'm wanting to see what teams are willing, to pay me. So it's a tough one.
Yeah. What are the odds that Balky drafted Little the whole time with the thought that he would replace Juwan in the long term at right tackle? Just because we know that Balky's a big Cam guy, and like when it happened, like the Cam extension and the Little pick, like you and I and everyone else were scratching their heads, like, it kind of doesn't like feel like they should have like two good left tackles when they have so many other holes. So like maybe this was the plan the whole time, just like they loved Cam and they loved Little, so they're just gonna go forward with both of them long term.
It sounds like when I accidentally do things like correctly. So I'm gonna assume that wasn't the plan, but if I was them, I would totally act like it was the plan.
No, I hadn't thought about that until like the thought popped in my head 60 seconds ago. So I think you're right, but I was just doing a little bit of galaxy birding on Balky's behalf, I guess.
Hey, if anybody that hemisphere is listening, that's a great hill to plant your flag on.
All right, John, I gotta go play pickleball. You got anything else before we go?
The hell's pickleball?
You don't know pickleball?
Nah.
I actually hate it because I used to play a lot of ping pong and tennis, and it's basically like a sport in between those two.
Okay, I think
it's like half court tennis, basically.
I think I do know. Okay, yeah, I covered a couple pickleball things in Palatka, which lets you know what my average day looked like working in Palatka when pickleball tournaments were front page. But I got you. Well, enjoy your pickleball. I'm going to. I'm not coaching tonight, but I'm going to continue to mold the young athletes of Orange Park, Florida, into winning machines. I'm not going to spoil anything, but they got some cool stuff down, man. We're gonna. I'm gonna either come out of this season looking like Nate Hackett or Sean McVay. I don't know.
Are you gonna you could send me to breakdown?
Sean McVay played by Kevin James. That's what I'm going for.
All right, yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, we'll be back maybe next week. We'll see what happens.
Maybe. We'll see.
Thanks to everyone who voted again and who tuned in.
I'll just say during the off season, if we're ever gone for more than a week, don't worry. We'll be back. Gus and I are making a commitment for this commitment to actually mean something.
We always crawl out of the hole, baby. It's just a matter of what if.
Exactly.
All right. See you next time.